Hello. Hey guys. All right, give me a sec while I set this up. Facebook's doing this thing at the moment where it's like, it's telling, it's changed the screen into like a full view, which has just totally messed me up because it means that I can't just sit it up like it used to be because I've got to keep in mind that it's got like a whole other view to it. All right. Let's see how long this can stay up for. All right. Hello, guys. I'm very, very, very pumped today. I'm going to try not to make this fall over too much. I'm really excited for a few reasons. One, I'm getting my tripod very, very soon. So I'm super, super excited to actually get that going. Let me just check where we are at. Yep, cool. All right. So that's one reason I'm excited. The other is this live stream, right? So I got really crazy excited about this morning. I was kind of up last night thinking about it, and then I woke up this morning and I just had this amazing thing just come to me where I'm like, oh my God, I need to talk to you guys. I need to get this out to you because it was just, oh my God, it was just like just an avalanche that came over me this morning, and I couldn't wait. I had clients and I had my own workout and everything like that. But as soon as I got home, I was just like, yep. I need to get this out. So, sorry, this is going to annoy me. I don't understand why it's suddenly changed to like this full length view. I don't mind, but it's just thrown me. All right. So I want to talk to you about The Matrix. Now, if you recall, obviously this was a movie or a movie franchise that happened many, many years ago. And even when it first came out, I can't remember how young I was. I was probably like just sometime in high school or even primary school. I'm not sure. But whenever it was that came out, I was obsessed with it. I thought it was incredible. But I didn't really I kind of felt like there was something more to the story than what, why keep tipping? There we go. Than what just kind of came up at the beginning, I guess. I kind of always felt like there's more to it that I still haven't uncovered. And it wasn't until a little bit later that it hit me what it was that I sort of felt like, oh my God, this was something that I feel like most of us are missing. And like, even though the movie in many ways, for a lot of people, probably made the point very clear about there being like this whole other world and most people aren't aware of it, I don't think most people actually thought too deeply about it because they kind of just went, oh, cool movie, yeah, we don't have all these machines running around and all this kind of secret stuff going on. But nobody thought about it, or not a lot of people that I know of thought about it in terms of, well, we do have another world. We do have another world, right? And this is exactly what I was thinking this morning, right? So I might get a little woo-woo on you. I might get a little random, and that's fine because, that's how I operate anyway. But I'm going to say something, right? So I believe about 95% of people are not plugged into the Matrix. Or they are, whichever way it is. I forget which one it was, whether the Matrix was the part where, like, the world where everybody thinks it exists, or whether, like, when Neo took the pill or whatever and they showed him the whole other world, whether that was the Matrix. I can't remember. I think the Matrix was actually the fake world, basically. And so I feel like 95% of people are in this fake world, are in this, what I would call the Matrix, basically, right? So it's an orchestrated world. There's so much else going on that's running it behind the scenes. And it's just like lemmings. And we're just kind of rolling in one after the other and doing what we need to do. So, we get pushed through obviously in the Western world, not in all countries, but in the Western world, in the, kind of 21st century technology, all that kind of stuff. It's so crazy to look at it sometimes and just think how we just get basically just trenched out and just churned out one by one. You go to this primary school, you get told to do these injections, you go to this primary school, then you go to high school, then you got to go to uni to get a job, to go into the 9 to 5, to work until this age. So you hopefully save up some super and whatever it is. And it's this cogwheel that keeps turning, right? And I feel like when you're in the matrix, when you're in this, for most people, and most people will never see it. They just won't see it that way. They will think that that's normal and that what I'm talking about now is just absolutely crazy. But I'm going to guess that you're not like that because you wouldn't listen to what I say. Otherwise, you'd, go and continue your cogwheel, I guess. But for those people, I feel like because I was in this position as well, I was, like everybody else, being churned into basically moving into this direction because it's what my parents knew and it's what everybody else did and all that kind of stuff. And it's just an easy sort of, it makes sense to everyone. It's just what everybody does, right? That was where I was headed until what I would say, I suppose, was my Morpheus, right? And I feel like a lot of people like myself have a chance to get out of this matrix and to get into the real world. And I'll get into that in a second, what this real world is. But I feel like so many of us have this chance sometimes, or should have a chance to get out, because we are that 5% or whatever it is that do want to see what else is out there, and that this isn't everything that there is to life, and that what you've been shown and what has been, thrown to you from the media and from all this stuff isn't all that there is out there. And we just need that opportunity to actually have someone kind of show it to us. And that's what I call, I guess, your Morpheus moment. So for me, personally, this is why I got into everything that I do so much, I guess, really is an influence from Tony Robbins. So where I got into reading his books when I was really young, I was under 10, I think, when I came across his books first. I was always a very avid reader. I loved reading. So, I quickly moved past all the general crap that people, I loved all the little books like, oh my God, like Sweet Valley High and Babysitter's Club and all that kind of stuff. Goosebumps. Oh my God. Did you watch Goosebumps? I loved Goosebumps. But anyway, so I read all that stuff, but very quickly I started to get bored and I started to look for more. And so I came across, I think, Tony Robbins. And at the time, it was just one of his first books that had come out. Which I believe was, I know there's Unlimited Power, and then there was a couple of others, I've forgotten their names. Awaken the Giant Within, that's the one, yeah. And I think it was actually possibly around that book, the Awaken the Giant Within, that I suddenly felt like someone was talking to me and got me in a way that I didn't realize I even had inside of me, right? So it was literally awakening something within me where I kind of felt like blinders were being taken off. And someone was telling me and someone was showing me that, you know what, there is more to this. You don't have to just follow in the footsteps of everyone else. You don't have to just get in line like the sheep and just go through your life, but being shown by whatever your parents knew or whatever everyone else around you knows. There is a whole other world out there, and it's created by you. And I felt like I was seeing a whole new world. Like there was me, and there was everyone else around me, and then it was like everything was brighter. Everything was suddenly more annoying. Everything that people tried to tell me, you have to do this, you have to do that, I just kept questioning it, and I wasn't even in my rebellious stage yet. I just was questioning it because it felt and it just sounded so limiting to me, right? And so that's kind of what I call like a Morpheus sort of moment where someone comes to you or usually it's someone or something like the book that I found. And then after that, I just kind of kept digging and digging. And I guess that sort of thing, going down the wormhole, once you're curious, once you sort of stepped inside, it's really hard to stop yourself because the further you go, it's like the further you are from everything that you ever thought was the rules, was how things have to be, all that kind of stuff. And you're actually free. You're free for the first time to just be like, wow, there's no limits. And I'm going to tell you something that's going to make me sound probably a bit crazy, but you let me know if you relate to this, because I think a few people might. I, as a kid, really believed that I could influence everything around me, right? So really from a very young age, like really, really young, probably like pre-5 years old and even definitely pre-10 years old, I had this feeling inside me that I could literally influence everything around me. I by the time I was 6 or 7, I was obsessed with the idea, and because I'd done reading on it, that you can control your entire body and how fast your heartbeat goes, how you feel, that kind of thing. I remember when I was very young and walking to school, and it was during winter and stuff, and I was getting really sick and tired of being cold, and feeling cold, because I feel cold very easily. And I remember learning somewhere, I can't even remember where, this technique to basically imagine how you want to feel within your body, whether it's, imagining a situation in your mind that will change your physiology. And so from there on, every single morning when I was walking to school, I would imagine I was walking through surrounded by heaters, like fiery heaters, and just heat coming at me from every single corner. And I would walk, and I would, think through my own thoughts or listen to music or whatever, but that would be already in my mind, in my imagination, everywhere around me. I was surrounded by warmth and heat, and I wouldn't be cold anymore. And it was one of those first kind of few moments where I went, wow, I just have not even begun to tap the power of our mind and what I can do with this, and the fact that I can control everything around me. And it just went from there. Like I found that the things I thought about started coming true. My manifesting abilities just became ridiculous. And it just kept going and going and going the more I looked into all of this. And it was like I had stepped out of this matrix and into this real world that most people never even go anywhere near, because half of them just don't know that it even exists, and the other half don't really want to know. Like they just I feel like most people, you try and sort of lead them towards it, and you sort of show them that there's more to all of this, and they kind of shy away. I think they're kind of half maybe scared that they aren't actually capable of anything more. And that's really sad, to think that you're not capable of more than just what you've been told you can do, basically. But a lot of it, I think, is just, it's a hard thing to believe until you see it. But unfortunately, a lot of what you do, you won't see it until you believe it. The whole I'll believe it when I see it thing, that's a really good way to make sure you never really get what you want, because you're always going to be waiting for something to happen. You actually are the thing that needs to happen in order for something to happen. So your mind actually needs to change in order to create, in order to manifest something. It doesn't work the other way. You can't sit around long enough and go, well, I'd like this and this and this, so I'm going to sit around and wait for it to happen, and then I'll believe it. No. You got to believe it first in order to see it, in order to manifest it, in order to bring it into your awareness, right? So what I kind of wanted to talk about today, I get so agitated about this again and again and again, because I feel like if I could just say one thing to everyone, just to shake them, and just whoever resonates with this, whoever feels like, oh my God, Anna, yes, I've always known this. I've always known there's more to this. I've always known that this isn't all that I'm cut out for, and that there has to be more to this. There can't just be this limited view of what I can and can't do in this world. I just needed someone to show me. I just needed someone to be my Morpheus. I just needed someone to give me the little red or blue pill or whatever and go, here you go, follow here. Just keep digging, just keep digging, just keep digging. I feel like I just want to do that. I want to get people to just keep digging, and to realize that there is this whole other world. There really is this world where you create everything on your terms, where you can have absolutely everything you've ever wanted. I'm talking finances, I'm talking relationships, the career that you want, the lifestyle that you want, everything that you want to achieve, everything that you feel in your heart and soul is what you're born to do, what you're here to do, and the kind of relationships that you want to have, all of that is possible. And it just requires to believe in this outside world that most people are just so scared to even think about, because it seems uncomfortable, right? It's out of your comfort zone. Everybody knows how you can just get by on, going to work, coming home, relaxing in front of the TV, or they call it relaxing, I call it dying slowly. And that's what it is. Like it's this generation of 95% of people that are just basically treading water for their lives, waiting to die. They're not living at any point. They're kind of, some days they're like, oh yeah, I kind of like my job. Or some days it's all right. There's no passion. There's no fire in it. They come home and they're not excited to be with their partner. They're not excited to be with their family. I'm not saying they don't love them. Absolutely. Of course they love them, but they're not excited by it. They're not excited to see what their children could achieve because they're pushing them to see things outside of the comfort zone, outside of the norm. They're not excited by their relationships because they can't be bothered. They're too tired. And they're not tired, they're uninspired. It's as simple as that. Like, there's the amount of energy that you get when you're doing what you are called to do, what you are going to what you're passionate about, what you're going to make a difference with, what actually matters to you. When you actually live your life on purpose, on your purpose, by design, not by default, when that happens, the amount of energy that you have is just, it's massive. It is huge. And so much of the time, like I said, I know that this isn't going to get through to 95% of people, because this is the matrix that we have constructed. And by we, I don't mean obviously you or me personally, but I mean society, I mean governments, I mean the media, I mean everything. We are a collective. And that's the thing, is when you get plugged in, I guess, and you see it from the outside, you can see it so clearly that it's just one big energy ball of people as a collective that's buying into this, and therefore everyone's walking around like the lemmings in the matrix and just going through and doing exactly what the person before them did, never expecting that, well, Tom, Dick and Harry at work here aren't happy in their marriage, so why should I be? Isn't it just standard that, I should refer to my wife as the ball and chain, and that, isn't it just standard not to really get excited, and, the sex life dies off and the intimacy and everything dies off in a marriage? That's just what happens, right? And it's this, like, it's such a comfortable thing to kind of go, okay, well, it's not just me. It's not just me. It's everybody else as well. Everybody else is also having these crappy problems, right? It's that whole comfort in numbers, misery loves company kind of deal, right? But for anyone, and it might be you might already be unplugged. You already might be out of the matrix with me, which is awesome. Welcome. It's so much more fun on this side. But if you're not, if you kind of always wondered whether you kind of felt different, I guess, is the easiest way to say it, is that when everyone else was saying how things are, you always questioned it. You always kind of thought, no, but is it really? Or is that just our perception? Is that just the way that I've created it because I believe it? If you've ever wondered those kind of things, like basically what control you have over what you do, if that's ever crossed your mind, then you need to get on the other side. And if this is your wake-up call, then this is your wake-up call. This is your pill. This is your Morpheus to come to the other side, where you don't have to be like everyone else. You don't have to accept any level apart from absolute just passion and love and just so much fun and so much excitement for your life, where you don't need to sleep as much as other people. You don't need to take breaks like other people. You don't need to go and sit and watch TV for 5 hours to feel like you can relax, because you don't need to subdue your life anymore. And I feel like that's a lot of the time what we're doing, is because, and that's why I think like 95% of people won't do this. But I do believe that 95% of people need to. They need to get unplugged. They need to see what's going on, because the reason that you have an addiction to binge watching shows or to food, and I know this because I've gone through binge eating disorder, so I very, very intensely understand how food is a drug to subdue what's really going on, what you're actually capable of, and you're not daring to step out of your own comfort zone, right? But whether it can be anything. Like, for some people it's sex, for some people it's food, for some people it's just laziness. So basically sitting around watching TV over and over and over until you fall asleep, and then just rinse and repeat and go again, right? Drugs, whatever it is that you do, alcohol. Obviously I have nothing against drinking alcohol per se, because I drink plenty of wine myself, but it's not because I'm sitting there and trying to just subdue myself. It's not because I'm trying to kind of numb my senses and alleviate my life, right? And I feel like that's where 95% of people are, is that they're trying to alleviate the pain that they're going through with whatever way they can, rather than daring to step outside of it and the risk that it might be a little bit more painful at some points. And you know what? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it does seem easier to be able to switch off and just go back to doing what I was doing, just having a normal job, good employers, whatever, and just kind of coast through and see what happens, right? But honestly, not anymore. Like there might have been a glimpse a few years ago where I kind of went, oh yeah, that could, that does seem easier. They just seem so content. They just seem so unfazed by anything. But the truth is, sorry, just got a message come through, that basically once you know, you can't unknow. It's one of those things. It's just one of those things that once someone shows you that there is another way, once you see where it actually leads and you fall down the rabbit hole, there's no going back. It's really, really impossible to then go to yourself, well, I just want to go back to not knowing now. You can't unknow it. And this is why I keep coming back to this matrix analogy, because when it came to me this morning, I just went, whoa, this is something, like this is huge. Because it's just like the Matrix. Once Neo found out about this world, which he always knew, right? He always knew somewhere inside that this wasn't all there is. He was digging, right? He was searching through the little computer thing, whatever that he was doing. He was searching. He knew that there was something more out there, and he was searching for it. And it finally came and found him and said, yes, you're right. Here I am, right? And once he got to see it, once he got in there, even though it was hard, even though people died, even though he died a couple of times. Sorry if I'm ruining storylines from like the 90s that you haven't seen. Get on and see it if you haven't. That's crazy. But even though he knew all of that stuff, there was no going back. There was no way. Doesn't matter how much pain he went through. Doesn't matter how much he lost. There was no way that he was going back and unplugging himself and going back into the quote unquote real world or the Matrix, right? Because once you know, you can't unknow, and you don't want to unknow, because everything gets so much better from there, right? And this is where people often wonder, like, how am I so energetic? How do I get by on so little sleep? And I didn't always used to. And it was purely just another level of this Matrix where I hadn't plugged in and just gone, hey, guess what? This is negotiable as well. But I won't go into that, because that was that was actually a live stream yesterday that you can watch about how everything's negotiable, including your sleep. So I won't go into that again. But it's one of those things that it's just, you can't unknow it, and you don't want to unknow it. And once you're on this side, everything's it's so much easier, and it's so clear to you when you're talking to someone, whether they're on this level or not, whether they've unplugged or not, because it's very clear very quickly. And you hear it in the way they talk. You hear it whether they always start sentences with I can't, I'm just the kind of person who, this just won't work for me, I've tried this before, it didn't work. And they've already formed all these opinions about how things are and how things aren't. And they're very driven to it. They're very attached to it. They don't want to let go. Even when you prove them wrong, like even when they might say, I can't do this, and then you push them a little bit and they do it, it's still in their mind that they can't. That's not like, you haven't proven anything to them. Like you might, if it's a person who honestly just thought, wow, I didn't think I could do that. Wow, that's awesome. That's a different personality. That's a different type. But when it's just entrenched that every single thing is, no, I can't do this. I'm not this kind of person. I don't want to do this. I don't like this, blah, blah, blah. And they just have everything so set. It's impossible to shake that until they shake it themselves, because it's an entire mindset. It's an entire choice on how they show up and how they present themselves and how they treat their life, right? Oh, sorry. I need to make sure I keep drinking, because otherwise my throat gets really dry very quickly, I guess. So, one more time, I want to say, if you've always wondered, is there more to this? Is there just this world where you can make things happen, right? Where you can actually think things into reality, where you can manifest the stuff that you want? is there a world and are there people living in such a way that they love their life? Like they love it with a passion, where they don't want to do anything except what they're doing. They don't want, whether it's a job working for someone else or whether it's running their own business, they love it. They thrive on it. Sure, they have difficulties. Sure, they have issues. Sure, they have stuff come up that isn't as much fun, or, you know, when it comes to running your own business, sure, there's stuff that isn't the most fun to do, all the paperwork and whatever it is. But you can tell that they absolutely love what they do. And you can just tell straight away because it's their energy. It's what they do. Their relationships. If you're wondering if there's people out there who aren't bored with their spouse, who do feel absolutely loved and energetic and passionate about their love life every single day, regardless what happens, someone who actually knows that this person is meant for them, their soulmate. If you're wondering if that's actually a thing, it is. This life is a thing. It really is. And it just takes you to start making it happen, to get unplugged from the matrix, to step away from the cogwheel, stop being churned out. And like I said, for most people, for 95% of people, that just isn't going to be the case. And I guess if I'm really honest, and this is probably going to be a little bit brutal or a little bit harsh, the world probably doesn't need everyone to be plugged in and to actually see things as they really are, because at the end of the day, who's going to do all the other stuff that doesn't require a great deal of passion, right? Like, I don't know, that probably sounds really harsh or whatever, but and that's not to say that I think that there's careers or that there's love lives or something like that that don't deserve to be passionate, or that don't warrant being, you know, enough of living your life or anything like that. Because I've seen and I know of people who work in all areas of life, but you can tell that they're passionate about it. Like whether it is, like I've met people who, I don't mean this to be derogatory in any means, but I know a lot of people would probably think, oh, you know, say garbos or cleaners or something, as if that's like a lower class thing, which I don't think it is. But for the sake of this point, right, I've met people who they clean houses, or they clean offices, or they run, you know, moving truck type things, and whatever it is, small businesses, people that sell things, right? Some of the people that I've met in those jobs, they love what they do. Like they absolutely love it. And you can tell that this is their passion. This is what they are meant for. You walk in and you talk to them and you walk out feeling fantastic and you just want to come back. And this is what it is. Like whatever it is that you're passionate about, you're going to sell it naturally, because people want to be a part of it. They want to get in on that. They want that energy. They want that awesomeness that comes from you, right? And it doesn't matter what it is. That's not the point. The point is it has to be yours, right? And if you're just churning out in the cogwheel, going to a job that, like I said, might not be horrible, but it's not what you love to do whatsoever, or whether you've started a business and once again, you did it for the money, for example, you kind of thought, oh, if I start this and I grow this, then this will be awesome. I'll have a great, income and all that kind of stuff, but it's not actually what you love. It's the same thing. It's no different. I don't care how much money you're making if you're not doing it out of a passion for it, and if this isn't something that makes you happy every single moment, that you know that you're making a difference the way that you're meant to, then it doesn't matter. I don't care how much money you make or how much money you don't make. That's really, you know, the financial side of things is just part and parcel to a whole lot of other stuff. But I'm going to finish up there soon, I think. Don't even know how long it's been going. All right, so one more time. Like I said, I feel like sometimes there's a hope of someone out of that 95-ish% or whatever that is still looking like Neo was in the Matrix, where they're just looking their whole lives to have someone pull them out of this Matrix and to actually show them that there is other ways, there is control, and not control, that's kind of the wrong word. There is a way to master your mind that just expands everything for you. It expands what you can achieve in terms of your relationships, in terms of your career, in terms of your health and your fitness. And there's so many limits out there at the moment, you know, like you just see it all the time. People have created entire business, not even just entire businesses, but entire industries out of, for example, you know, mums looking to get their bodies back and that kind of stuff, as though it has to be a really difficult thing. And it's an entire business and an entire industry now, with people, you know, showing all of their expert opinions about how, no, you have to do this, you have to do that. Same as the weight loss industry, right? There's a whole bunch of people saying, no, you have to do this, you have to do that. This is the only way. And that's all it is. It's an industry. And the problem is this is all part of the main matrix, right? Where everyone's just kind of buying into the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. At no point going, well, you know what? I actually know what's best for me. I actually know how to do this. There isn't actually one way to do this, but there is, and that is called my way. And that is called figuring out exactly what works for me and tuning in and stopping this constant avalanche of doing what everybody else tells me to do just because it's what they did, right? So if you were looking for that pill, if you were looking to know if there is more, if you can start digging, or if you've been digging and you're still looking, hi, welcome. If you haven't seen one of my streams before, say hi. I'd love to have a chat with you. But that's what I wanted to get out, is that there is so much more out there that most of us are just never going to, but, well, I won't say us, because I don't think you'd be here if you really believe that your life is limited and that you can only achieve so many things that seem realistic or whatever it is. I don't think you'd be here because, well, it wouldn't work for you, would it? So if you know anyone out of, your vicinity that you feel like should hear this, should know this, should have someone just shake them and say, wake up, there's something else going on here, get in on it, stop living in this other world where everything's limited and you have to do this and you have to do that. Just go and do what you want to do all the time. And if you feel like there's someone that needs to hear this, let them know. I'd love for you to share the video. And if you were the one that was looking for it, then great. Because like I said, I feel like for so many of us, it's just that looking for that wake-up call, looking for something to jog us to go, yep, hey, you were looking for me, here I am. It's done. Move on now. Don't ever look back. Don't ever look back. Don't ever compare yourself. And that's the worst thing. This is what 95% of people do, is they just compare. They're like, okay, well, at this age, so-and-so was doing this, and then they're doing this, and then my career should be doing this, and I should be married, and I should have a kid, and tick, 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 tick. And that's all really well and good for them, because that's all that they're comparing against is what everybody else has done, and it's just one big sort of churning wheel after another. But you don't need to compare yourself to that, because what you can achieve and what age you do it and whatever happens is irrelevant. It is so irrelevant. Anything that you want to do, you can achieve it at any time. There's no end of your life. There's no end of chances or anything, or opportunities or anything like that. The only difference is, how long do you want to stay stuck in the matrix? How long before you want to unplug and actually go and live your life? Because at the end of the day, you can keep up the excuses as long as you want, and that's all they are, is just excuses. If you already know that there's more out there, and if you're watching this, now you know there is more out there. So what's your excuse, right? At the end of the day, that's what it's going to come down to now, because you know. And you've always known that you are different. You've always known that there's more to this. You've always known that there's more to you, and that there is something that you are meant to be doing that you're not doing right now, a life that you're meant to be living on a whole different level that you haven't even comprehended for now. You don't have to know how. You just need to unplug, keep digging, and keep growing. That's all it takes. The how will take care of itself, but it won't happen. If you're comparing yourself to the 95%, then great, you might be better than that part, but you're never going to be as good as you can be, because your potential is so much more than that, right? Cool. All right, so I'm going to finish that up there. What was I going to tell you about? Oh, yes. So the If It Fits Your Macros and Flexible Dieting workshop that I'm doing next month, right? So this is a really good one, especially if you're thinking, okay, well, maybe it's time for me to unplug and actually get into maybe my health and fitness and take it to a whole new level where I'm in control, where I stop buying into every other fad diet and having other people tell me how to eat, and come to let me tell you how to eat. Sort of, not really. So I've done a video. I'll pop the link in below so you can watch it, where I explain a little bit more about what If It Fits Your Macros is, because it's not actually an eating plan. I'm not going to tell you this is the food that you can have, this is the food you can't have, this is what you can eat, blah, blah, blah. It's a way of eating that's similar, I guess, to calorie control, in the sense that obviously depending how much you eat is going to affect your goals. If you eat more than you need, you're going to put on weight, whether it's muscle or fat, depending on your body type and depending on your training. If you eat less, you're going to lose weight. If you maintain your energy levels, you're going to maintain. Pretty simple, right? So it's similar to that, except that this is much better for anyone who is active, who does have particular physique goals as well, rather than just like standard weight loss and weight gain and that kind of yo-yo effect that happens when you calorie count a lot of the time. Is kind of what happens is most people will tend to veer towards higher carbohydrate just by choice, I guess, just by that it tastes better and it kind of works better. They feel like it works better for them. But the problem is it sets up your hormones in a way that makes it much easier to then kind of rebound, start binging, start getting lots of cravings, that kind of stuff. So macronutrients, your proteins, fats, and your carbohydrates, when you're actually counting those rather than the calories, you get a much more even spread of energy, of metabolism, of everything in terms of the nutrients and everything that you receive as well. So I'm going to be doing a seminar. Like I said, I'll pop the link in below for all the details so you can find out a little bit more about what it is. But the seminar or the workshop itself is going to be 4 hours on Saturday, 25th of February from 1 till 5 p.m. I'm going to do this in a conference room. It's going to be in Melbourne. So it's going to be for a private small group of people because I do want to make sure I have one-on-one time, because what we're going to do, apart from run you through exactly how it works so you understand all the foods, how they work for your body, we're also going to actually sit down and you're going to work out your own eating plan, which is absolutely negotiable because, like I said, you can eat any food you want on this. There is no bad food. There is no good and bad food. There is just food that's going to work for your goals and not work for your goals, and nothing needs to be cut out. It just might mean, obviously, I'm not going to be stupid and tell you that you can eat like 8 donuts a day and reach your goals, unless, yours are like mass gain, in which case you can. But for most people, if it's like fat loss or something, then obviously you're not going to be eating that, but you can have one donut, right? So we're actually going to go sit down and you're going to work out your own eating plan, which again is totally negotiable. You can change it as you go along, but it'll give you actual practice at knowing how to do this yourself. And this is something I'm so huge on. I hate these cookie cutter plans that people come up with for people, especially when it's PTs and stuff, because a lot of people don't realize that PTs are not meant to be giving you diet plans. They can absolutely suggest and give you advice, because don't get me wrong, myself included, I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian, but I have a lot of experience in this. I'm never going to try and treat you if you have eating disorder or if you have like a medical condition, obviously, because that's what nutritionists and dietitians specialize in. That's what they're there for. But like myself, a lot of PTs do have a lot of experience. But writing these plans for people is A, really, really irresponsible, and B, it's just stupid, because every time you write something, as much as you might try to make it about the other person and about what they like, you can't help but do it based on what you know. And that's part of the experience, right? Is that myself included, and a lot of PTs have, a decade or more of experience sometimes in the industry. So we know what most people like, most people don't like. But that doesn't mean it's going to work long term. And I really, really, really prefer, and I see the results happen so much faster and so much more successfully, long lasting, when people are actually able to understand what it is that they want to eat, how they want to eat, and they're able to structure it in a way that works for them, because that just saves everyone so much time. Not to mention that educating people is kind of the best way for them to get anything. As long as you just keep throwing diet plans at people, they're just going to keep basically taking whatever you're doing, go with it for a couple of weeks, then go off it again. And it's just that yo-yo kind of effect. I don't love yo-yo. I've been there for myself for so many years with my binge eating disorder and everything. So I know how much fun it's not, and how horrible you feel about yourself when you're just constantly going, oh yes, I'm doing really well. Oh, there you go. I've just binged and I've just sabotaged it all, and round and round and round. So I know personally, and from a lot of my clients as well, that it's the long term that matters. It's not, what's working for you this month, next month, this year. It's what's working for you in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. And once you've sort of mastered this, you don't need to be counting things really, really intensely. Like I don't count them intensely anymore, because I'm well aware of now what works for my body, and it's easy for me to plan it out. However, to learn that and to actually be comfortable with it and then make it really easy for yourself ongoingly this is a fantastic workshop where you get to learn, you get to get the knowledge as well as the actual practical application. So you get to sit down and actually go through it and plan some stuff out for yourself and know how to adjust it. If you don't like it, if it's not working, whatever it is, you know how to adjust it to make it work again. Cool. So I'm going to pop the link for the other live stream that I did for the If It Fits Your Macro details. So if you want to book in for that, make sure you let me know ASAP. I'll put my email in below as well and let me know. So we'll book that in. That's $149 per person for the workshop, 4 hours. And if you want to bring a friend or a family member, I'm doing a deal that you can bring two of you for $250. So you save a bit of money if you bring someone else with you. If you want to book in, do it soon. I know it's still like a month. Yeah, it's the 25th today, actually. So I know it's like literally a month away today, but it's already booking up. So if you want to get in soon. And I will talk to you guys soon. Remember, now that you are unplugged, you are free of the matrix, go do exactly what you need to do and stop the excuses. And let's live our dream lives. Live life on purpose. Bye.